So I wanted to share an idea with you that's been simmering and invite you to engage if it speaks to you. I've been reflecting on my last year of healing trauma and just healing, in every way possible as I reached rock bottom in terms of peak rage, surges towards violence, impatience, pain, anger, exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, not being able to cope and taking more than 7 months of the year off, and just looking at what's worked, what's allowed me to kind of ease through there without totally crashing and starting to climb again. And if I look at the I understand what precipitated the collapse on many levels. But if I look at what worked, there's a couple of things. Deep bonding with several lovers who were capable of deep bonding and could spend 24/7 time with me. What really messed with me a lot in that process was one deep lover who could deeply bond, but was quite divided and split within herself, couldn't fully understand and be safe, and also came and went and kind of just sent a lot. It was just the exact worst thing in a state of trauma where I needed container and to be held. So, that's a lack of container, volatility, uncertainty, and insanity is kind of terrible. But even so, the fact that she really did love me in some levels, I think, at times were the only thing that I could hold on to. And so, deep container, time in Thailand and the Philippines, incredible courtesy and hospitality of a quality that I don't know where to find it in the world other than in Thailand and in the Philippines. And staying in 5-star hotels gave me indirect medicine as follows. The medicine was people really cared about all the details, the design, the service, the uniform. So someone is caring. And human caring and or kindness in its purest form is the most important medicine, I think, when we're in crisis and in PTSD. And getting that all around me, that even though it wasn't fully direct, like, hundreds of people all gathered around me, caring and holding and and understanding everything. The fact that thousands of people had participated to create something beautiful with care and attention to detail, and that the few people that did engage with me did so courteously and with respect, was huge. And then a lot of meditation in environments that weren't triggering. So having environments that weren't triggering, having containment, and so a certain amount of isolation rather than uncertainty allowed calming down. And then in that isolation to fill that with new and peaceful relationships from people that really cared in beautiful settings helped. Meditation within that undisturbed environment to start flushing and clearing and growing and bringing love into these dark places and in my own philosophy, it's more about tuning into a resonance. And it's great and it's fine if my mind can create a story and say, oh, this is more of an angel being, or this is more of a, whatever. That doesn't matter. What matters is intimacy and depth and presence with something that's bigger than humans. Because I, as a human being, and a number of very good people, relatively speaking, had caused this level of grief and wound and betrayal and sadness and sickness. And on that level, in terms of as far as that wound goes, people as a group are not safe statistically. And I didn't have individuals that I felt were totally safe, in part because the desperation was so strong. If I did hold on to someone, I needed to hold on really tight and not be jerked off, or pushed aside, flippantly, randomly on their schedule. I needed attunement. It's very, very hard to find an individual who can and wants to do that. I was very fortunate in the Philippines to have two lovers that played a really big part in that. Three. And two out of those three were intermittent. There was kind of disappointment, betrayal, sharpness, and letdown around some of the disengagement. And it was really upsetting, really painful. One of them, though, really came through with me, and so that's Jen, my partner, and that is incredibly healing. Talking deeply about everything, having the chance to give a really valuable gift, I would say, was 50% of the healing for me. Because one of the most toxic realities and thought awarenesses for me in all this is the awareness that I'm going through something that no one wants me to go through, that I can't get out of, that doesn't seem to be useful for anyone, that no one wants to join me in, that no one's willing to help me out of in the ways that I need help. And the message over and over and over again is just kind of go away, you're useless. And, filled with shame and depression, and, this was incredibly painful. And yet, in each of the cases with my three lovers, it was a very different message and a different context. There was mutuality in desire, mutuality in respect, mutuality in play and warmth, and there was a deep opportunity for me to give. And so I gave teaching, mentoring, support. I don't like weakening someone, so I don't give money in a way that creates dependency. But in the Philippines, there's a lot of poverty, and so strategic gifts really help someone to grow. And so giving books that really help each person, that are kind of accustomed to who that person is and what they're interested in, giving phones so that communication can be maintained and they can do research, giving internet time, buying time for the phones, giving lessons, how to swim, how to drive, how to have this kind of conversation, how to start a business. This is very much needed. It's creating strength and independence. And in a context where none of that is present, it was possible, combined with the graciousness and the femininity of a culture that has no shame on receiving and being feminine. It's really, really beautiful. And I'm not talking about women or men. I'm talking about has no shame on being feminine, being emotional, being vulnerable, being trusting, being learning, receiving. So I was able to give, in a matter of weeks, more value and more gifts on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, than I've been able to give to almost anyone in my life. And watch the difference. Watch the maturing happen, watch the growing happen, watch the excitement, watch the learning, watch the confidence. And that was truly illuminating and beautiful, because it gave a joy. And it also gave a medicine to that voice that said, you're nobody wants you, go away, you're worthless. And said, no. You're not only wanted, but you're the most influential and positive force in this person's life. And that's being validated, 10, 20 times a day. Very, very medicinal. And so what I've been thinking about is for other people that are in crisis, are in trauma, are in various states of disease, disconnection, loneliness, shame, terror, the inadequacy, all the diseases that we're so good at giving in our dissociated and relatively isolated and shallower modern world. What's the medicine? And what I've really learned with Jen is that we who are both diseased or sick, but also more conscious of the sickness all around us and more passionate about doing something about it, we can actually give and receive more from one another than most people. In other words, Jen has some real exposure to physical, emotional, mental disease. And yet she's given me more than any human being in a number of years. And she's given that in a matter of months. And I would say that most normal people couldn't have done it. And that leads to a little bit of a paradox, which is that sick as we are in some ways, disabled as we are in some ways, we are also in some ways commensurately enabled. In other words, we are able to do some things that most people cannot and will not do. And I see that in myself, I see it in Jen, and I see it in Jen's former care job for IA. It's wonderful, just completely volatile, in the moment, emotional, not able to remember. And this, it's such an interesting thing. So she's considered disabled because she can't remember what she's taught. As a result, she hasn't learned to be sick. She can't remember shame, so she has no shame. She can't remember how stupid she is, so she doesn't feel stupid. She can't remember all the social rules that block her true emotions, so she's 100% honest. And she can't remember all the lies, so she doesn't tell them. She can't and doesn't keep secrets. She wears her heart on her sleeve because she can't remember that there's a shrewder way of doing that. And as a result, she's integrated in the present, in the moment, authentic, and very medicinal for anyone caught up in too much modern disease. So she's disabled in memory and modulating herself to the people around her, and she's enabled, as in, here's me, and I'm not going to change and apologize just because normal doesn't have room for me. I'm going to be me. And as a result, she can give things to someone like me that is in pain with the level of superficiality around me. This is a paradox. And this got me thinking, maybe we as a community could give one another more than a doctor could give us, than a hospital could give us, than an irritated, victimized parent or martyred parent who's busy can give us, or a friend who is busy trying to be normal and is disabled in their own way. Maybe we can give each other more than anyone else could give us. And so I've just been thinking about a month of bonding, of healing, of presence, of serenity, clearing, getting away from it all, and having nothing but really honest, supportive, present people who understand, who care, and have fallen through the cracks of the culture. And that's my idea. And I'm thinking, how to make it really simple, have a very nourishing diet, have, radio silence, and just have, 12 to 30 people in presence doing the rituals that have helped me so much with Jen and I. This is who I am. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I think and feel about what I'm feeling. This is what my body's going through. These are the sensations. This is what seems to be in the present. This is what I can't control. This is what's coming up from the past and won't let me free. These are the memories I have. This is what I'm sorry about. I feel regret, sadness, sorry, remorse. It's what I long for. Deep bonding with caring and kindness. And I've led various informal groups. One of them was called the Healthy Relationship Practice Group, years ago. And I've attended weekend workshops, and I've often thought, They're just kind of getting going. Relationships are just crystallizing and the weekend's over. Why not a week workshop? But with trauma, even a month was not always enough. And so I've thought about, what about creating an actual sustainable community? But that's too big of a bite for me in this moment. And I also think all of us need to learn more about what works in group dynamics in this terrain. And so I'm just exploring. Could a group of us rent a resort and take 30 days, which coincides with a lot of visas in, like a Thai visa or a Filipino visa is 30 days. That's kind of the default. And so it's just an idea. And I've done drawings and sketches and stuff. But if you're resonating a lot with this material and feel like that would support you, I'd love to know. You can use the contact page, and let's see if something wants to germinate along those lines. And based on level of passion and feedback and ability, perhaps it's something that we can get going sometime in the next year. Thanks for your interest and thoughts.